All right, so we'd say good evening, good afternoon, good morning. I don't know where you're sitting in the world today. I know we've got a global audience that's joining us today. So welcome to the show. It's Live Chat on Monday, another edition, another installment. This October, we're having a special edition for you. We're coming, connecting Pretoria with Dubai. And from Dubai, of course, on Live Chat on Monday with your host, Ronald Muringai, we are joined by Mr. Andrew Forder. Mr. Andrew Forder, how are you, sir?
I'm very well, thank you, Ronald. Fantastic to be chatting to you again.
No, it's an awesome privilege and a wonder thing to have you around. And I think you're a leader, you're an avid traveler, you're a father, you are a son, you're a husband, and currently an expatriate working all the way. I can see from the background where you're seated that, the view is absolutely stunning. So I'm sure we'll be in the right place right now to say salam alaikum.
Salam alaikum, yeah. Yes, Ronald, yeah, the view in the background is a view from our apartment balcony over the Dubai Marina, where we are very blessed to be living at the moment.
That's good to hear. And I've got some myths that kind of say Dubai is like a Legoland. You wake up today, there's no building, and then 3 weeks' time, there's another tall building that's just gone up that place. How true is that?
It is actually quite true. They are still building here in Dubai. There's a lot going on, a lot of new construction. One of the most amazing things for us has been how quickly they can put up a overpass on a freeway. There's been junctions built on freeways within a period of 3 months, and this is major bridges going over a 8-lane highway in both directions, and they do it very quickly and easily here in Dubai.
So I think when I listen to all of that, and of course we watch the visuals, on international network news networks, and we see it in different programs as well. There's almost a vision. Of course, they have the money; we can't discount that. But I'm looking at the vision side of it, and I'm thinking for our progress as Africa, we've lagged behind. I was in Ghana, I think about 3 years ago, and they're celebrating having their first overpass on a freeway there. And this is 50 years after independence. Mm-hmm. Is there something wrong that we're doing that they're getting right, you think?
That's actually quite a difficult question to answer, Ronald. One of the main things is, yes, they do have the funding that they can allocate the resources to, but most certainly they know where they want to allocate the resources and the purposes for which they want to use those. I think their financial controls are significantly stronger than what we have in Africa, and from this perspective, they see it as investing in their future. If they can create an environment that attracts people into the country, most certainly it creates a continuous fantastic job. They create opportunities, free zones where people can trade and do business fairly easily. So these are all factors that I think help stimulate the economy in the UAE as a whole.
No, that's good to hear. I think we'll have that chat another time when we talk about, international economics and how to develop countries. But today, I really want to specify and focus more on the family aspect of it. And I think I'll just start off before we talk about the kids, the marriage situation. Now, you've lived in a number of countries. As long as I've known you, you've been somewhat of a country hopper, And I think it's, as a South African, you've kind of had the privilege and, of course, the opportunities to do that, which is great. And I'm thinking now, from the little travel that I've had, it really just opens and expands the mind, and you see different things, you see different ways in which these other people in countries, other countries do. But I'm thinking, how does that affect, your marriage when you move from one place to another and you're changing friends, the whole change in scenario, the whole change, in a lifestyle? Are there any unique pressures you'd say that would be put on the marriage outside of all of these things that I'm just imagining at the moment?
Any move, even inside your own country, is actually quite a stressful and significant change in life, and that on its own places pressure on a marriage. moving across the borders into an unknown territory, this does bring a different set of complications to you as a couple. I think standing together is most certainly one thing. Understanding your partner's or your wife or husband's perspective on where they're going. You need to be in agreement as to why you're going across the border, and that this is something that you're called to do. We've, as Siska and I, most certainly, each time we have moved across these borders, we believe God has called us to the country that we've gone to. And each time we have been able to find a home away from home. And I refer there mainly to finding a home within the church. And even here in Dubai, as much as it is a Muslim country predominantly, we have a fantastic Christian community around us that supports us. We obviously supporting them as well, but we are growing in that community. Siska and I actually tomorrow night, we're starting a marriage course for couples here in Dubai to strengthen the family unit and to strengthen the relationships between partners and husbands and wives.
And I think for as long as I've known you, you've always been that guy, you know, hands in the thing when it comes to ministry. You don't shy away from responsibility. So I think I'm glad, you know, so many years later, you're still up with that. You know, people sometimes get fatigued, sometimes get discouraged. And I think to see so many years later you doing that, that's great. I think I should encourage you on that. And I'm thinking now, of course, extending from the marriage.
Thank you very much.
Perfect. Extending now from the marriage setup, and now you've got kids that are on tour as well. I'm thinking the pressures already, like you said, on the marriage setup in terms of the moving are unique to themselves. How does that now affect the children, you think, from what you've seen, you know, when they move from one school and then they change set of friends and they have to change, you know, uniforms and cultures and that kind of thing? How does that affect them, you think?
Ronald, on that perspective, I think it brings a little bit of diversity to the children. They also learn to adapt a little bit more to the world around them. I think the opportunities that a change of environment, even a change of city, does give them is that they learn that it's not all their own way. That they do need to learn to meet new people, they create new friends. Most certainly, I think I've been very impressed with my daughter, the way she's adapted here and embraced this new environment where we have an international scene. As I mentioned to you earlier, here in Dubai, only 15% of the community is actually Emirati. 85% of our community here in Dubai is international or expatriate. And so there we have friends from Sri Lanka, friends from India, around the world. I say Sri Lanka and India because those are some of the dominant cultures that exist here in Dubai. The South African population is also very big, but yeah, that diversity is always something to embrace and to learn a difference from those people, from the people that you're interacting with. I think I was thinking about this earlier when you set this up, and thinking back to his people in the middle of Pretoria, how even there, when you were a younger man and unmarried, coming from Zimbabwe, we had Jose from Zambia. There were also different cultures, and just the enjoyment that we got from learning from yourselves as students, learning from the other leaders within the community, that is something to embrace, and to find what you can learn from somebody else rather than just dominating your own environment.
And I think that that then brings a certain aspect to say now in terms of two things I want to ask about. Firstly, of course, being the culture, in that, you've exposed your children to so many cultures, which is great. They learn so much, they adapt so much, and I think it works best for them, even for their futures, as I've experienced, like you mentioned, from the most beautiful country in Africa where I come from, living in South Africa now, and the limited travel that I've done over the years. Now I'm thinking, is there some sort of a challenge then in terms of trying to instill a certain uniquely South African culture in your children, as much as they are involved and being influenced so much by different cultures around them?
Yes, most certainly. Wherever we go, we're still South African. It is picked up by our friends. The way we talk is one of the biggest giveaways. The word "ja" defines a South African quite clearly. There are some key other indicators that our international friends pick up on. But yeah, it's adaptable. Sorry, I've actually lost my train of thought. Your original question was?
That's fine. That's fine. So I'm trying to think now, when they've been exposed to so much, which is actually the first part of my question. Don't you think that they kind of lose some sense of South Africanness in them because they've adapted and kind of learned from so many different things? That's the first part. And the second part I was going to add now is the faith aspect of things. To say, now that you've moved to a predominantly a Muslim country, how does also that affect your trying to teach them Christian values which you are anchored in?
So, from a South African perspective, I don't believe we're losing the culture. I think there are certain things that we still consider very much South African. There are things that we do when there's preparing South African-based meals to introduce them to the cultures from South Africa. She's a very good cook, so she's baking cook sisters. She's doing bobotie. We do a braai, things like that. Just instills in us as a family the roots from where we come. Living in a Muslim country, has it influenced our religion? Not at all. In actual fact, it has increased my sense of awareness to the Christian faith. Increased the awareness of the difference between the different faiths, and in actual fact, one of the things, when there's a call to prayer from the imam in a mosque, it reminds me to focus my attention towards God. So from that perspective, I think there are most certainly things to take away from the Muslim faith and the way people are so dedicated towards Islam. That for me is something that sometimes for ourselves as Christians, we tend to take quite lightly. And where you see people here that are very dedicated. When there's a call to prayer, people make time. You see a bus driver stopping on the side of the main carriageway and praying before he continues his journey. There are a number of situations like that that show their focus and dedication there, and that's something that I think sometimes for ourselves as Christians, we tend to neglect to a certain extent.
And this is quite encouraging to hear, actually. And I'm thinking, it would rather be a challenge, but you're telling me there's actually lots of opportunities to grow your faith and to discover more of your faith in that kind of a foreign, literally religious context. And I'm thinking now, there potentially people out there who are watching this video today, this live stream, are thinking, you know what, I want to immigrate one day. I want to go stay 5 years in the UK. I want to go stay 5 years in the States, or 10 years, wherever they would want to go. What are the potential pitfalls that you'd want to highlight to them right now to say, watch out for at least 1, 2, 3?
No, perhaps when you're single and a younger person, you're able to travel more freely and go and seek employment overseas. As a married couple and particularly with a family, I think know that or make sure that employment is arranged before you leave your home borders. Make sure that the contracts are set and that you're coming over to something that is sound. As a Christian, I think the good thing is to explore and find out the Christian communities within the area that you're going to be living, because you're leaving all your family behind, the bigger family, and things become tough. They become you can become very lonely. We've seen it here in the lockdown. A number of people in the church who are single during that lockdown, this became a very tough time for them. Thank goodness for things like Zoom, because we were able to keep in contact with them, because here in Dubai, we could not move around at all for a couple of months. You had to get a permission to go out of your home. Otherwise, the police were fining you quite significantly. But so coming in to a new country, find that base that you can call home. It might initially start with some friends, but it becomes bigger when you fall into a church community that you've got other people to lean on in those times of trouble. And I think that would be my biggest message.
And how difficult then would it be, you think, to adjust, especially, I'm moving away now from at least the single context and trying to focus it on at least the father aspect of where you're at now. How then would it be a bit more difficult to do that adjustment, to do that fitting in, as it were, if you don't have that kind of a base? Say, for example, one is not Christian, one doesn't have family where they're going, or potentially friends. Have you seen or potentially been with people that you realize are actually now struggling and feeling much more homesick as a result of a lack of that?
We do see this with some of the friends that we have here, where they don't have such a base. It can be quite lonely. Both Siska and I have got friends that we share time with, lunch, meals and things. Sorry, excuse me. Who their friendship base is very small. They go to work, they come home, and there's very little else that is taking place. So for those people, I think you have to make an effort to get out. You have to put in the time, as with anything else, to build the relationships, to create the opportunities, to build that base that you're going to now lean on, because you don't have an extended family base. So very much it's how much are you prepared put into building relationships.
And thinking of that now, I know some people are naturals at that. You are one of those people. You can be dropped in the equator somewhere and you'd easily connect with people, not a problem. Now, I'm thinking you've now exposed your children, I think, to these different cultures and these different people. I'm going to ask you a very controversial question now and say, they're obviously now coming to that stage and that stage in their lives where they potentially would have to find life partners for themselves. And I'm sure you've thought of that now to say, when they do that and do that outside of your normal circle, expected people, how are you prepared for that? And how would you prepare somebody to deal with something like that?
That is most certainly a challenging question, Ronald. And with grown children now, I'm having to learn that I have, over the years, given them the advice, shared my beliefs with them, instilled the beliefs in Christ, and taught them the ways that I would like them to go. I think one of the biggest things that I've had to learn over the last couple of years is the fact that they have a free will. I've done my part. They now have a choice as to who they need to partner with, and I have to believe that they will make the right decisions. Most certainly, there are still discussions. There are still opportunities to lead them in the right direction, but it is more on my children's request as to what do I think of this, what do I think of that, rather than being more, shall I say, commanding as a parent. So when your children are younger, you maybe command the situation. You're giving a lot more direction. Right now, when your children become older, you need to release the reins and trust them that what you have instilled in your children is going to carry them forward for the rest of their lives. And most certainly, I made mistakes. They might make mistakes, but we have to love them through that and stand by them in those situations.
Yeah, glad to hear that. I know you weren't prepared for that one, but now I'm trying to think, you've obviously got a unique relationship with your children, obviously given all the areas that you've stayed in, the countries that you've lived in, and all the stuff that you've learned over the number of years with them. And I'm trying to think now, when you look back on your own personal relationship with your parents, do you think that potentially there are areas where you would have improved or thought maybe there's a difference in the better with what you have now versus what you had with your parents before?
So you're referring to my relationship with my own children versus my relationship with my parents?
Yes, given all the traveling that's happened now, adding that into the equation.
Ronald, I think we do the best that we can as parents. We most certainly want the best for our children. We want to provide for them in the best way that we can. That's not always it's not always the best thing to be giving. They need to, shall I say, earn their strength, a sense of achievement. It gives them a sense of self-worth as well. I think if I look back at my relationship with my own parents when I was a youngster, the relationship was parent-child relationship. When I became a little bit older and matured, my relationship with my father strengthened even further and became a deeper relationship where we could talk about different matters rather than what a father and son potentially have to deal with. So I see that with my children now. With Cameron, my son, as he's now in his 4th year of studies, he's most certainly the questions that he's facing in life are different to when he was at school. And each phase that you go through with your children is most enjoyable. I've enjoyed it a lot. There are challenging moments, which potentially you don't know how to deal with. But in the family unit, with you and your spouse, being able to talk about it, most certainly you can overcome situations. There are going to be things that throw you. I think back to when Cameron was first born and this new baby arrives in your home. There's no instruction manual that comes along with the baby like we get instruction manuals with everything else that tells you this is what you do now, this is what you do on the next step. You have to figure it out. And I think each phase that you go through in life is part of that. And so you grow in the circumstances that you find yourself in.
And I think the final question that I kind of always give to people, guests on this show, is to ask really if you think potentially this video, this stream right now would go so viral that everybody in the world would watch it. What's the one message you want to leave with the world right now, Mr. Fora?
God is good all the time. I believe that he has a plan for my life. I believe he has a plan for everybody's life. I'd love to encourage everybody to seek that out. Ronald, the opportunities that we're given need to grab with both hands. I have seen over the years, and looking at yourself, I've seen Mandla here in Dubai. I've seen other friends that we had back from his people, how taking on the opportunities that are presented to you and making the most of those opportunities, you can find your purpose, you can do what you need to do in order to succeed in society and add value to society.
Thank you very much. So really appreciate that. And I think talking about opportunities for everybody who's thinking of emigrating to Dubai, you have found yourself a contact right here. Otherwise, Mr. Fora, thank you for having us. We really thank you for gracing us with your presence on the show today and your words of wisdom. I think for everybody who was listening, really would have gained a lot, especially on this issue of raising kids outside of one's normal country. So muchas gracias for that.
Thank you very much. It's been my privilege to join you on your little chat show. I do watch it quite frequently, and it's great to see the developments and the speakers. I was a little bit daunted by this whole opportunity, but thank you very much for giving me the opportunity.
Not a problem. For everybody else that's watching out there, you've heard it for yourself. It's another edition of Live Chats on Monday. We'll catch you again next time, same time next week. Adios.